Hello, political science students. Welcome to the last video in this series. Thank you for sticking around. Today, we're going to talk about how you're going to find those scholarly and peer-reviewed articles for your annotated bibliography. So, first, I want to go look at your assignment description real quick. I really like this because Professor Old gives you a really good example. So, looking at the assignment requirements, we need to find at least 2 peer-reviewed articles published within the past 10 years that relate to each testable question. So, looking at the example he gives, so this conservative claim first is, less restrictive immigration policies will lead to a faster development of a COVID-19 vaccine. And then, if you look down, the article that supports the claim is called How Much Does Immigration Boost Innovation? So, going back to our question, COVID-19 is happening right now. So scholarly work is going to be in the future. It's probably going to take about 2 years before we get really good scholarly articles on COVID-19. But this article, this scholarly article, does relate directly to that, even though it's not mentioning the current pandemic. It's talking about how this can boost innovation. How immigration can boost innovation. And then if you look at how the article supports the claim, it finds that U.S. states between 1940 and 2000, when immigrant college graduates increased by 1% of the overall population, the state produced between 9 and 18% more patents per capita. So this can help us get closer to a vaccine, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is I really like this example because you can be making a claim about something that's happening right now, and you just have to be aware that the scholarly literature might not mention that exact thing, but you can find previous research that speaks to the same idea. Okay, so we're going to go back to this library guide. If you don't know how to get here, go watch the first video one more time, or just type in that URL at the top if you want. But we're going to start by going into political science database like we did before, finding those policy journals and magazines. Okay, and remember, if you're off campus, it's going to ask you to put in your VU credentials. Okay, so this should look familiar. I'm going to use some similar examples to what I've been using in the other videos. I was looking at universal healthcare, healthcare reform. This is a good time to be brainstorming those alternative keywords, right? They don't exactly have to mean the exact same thing, but you want them to get to the same idea. Just so you're prepared with a few different options when you go into the database. So I'm going to start off by typing in healthcare reform in this first line. Oh, 2 A's, I guess. Okay. And then a lot of the claims I was looking at were suggesting that this would have a negative impact on economic growth. So I'm just going to type in economic growth. Okay, so looking here, you'll notice I am using and. So just as a reminder, and is going to make sure that both of these terms are in my article I'm looking for. If I used or, that would be my way of saying I don't care if it has both or not, just as long as it has one, I'm good. And not's going to make sure that term is not anywhere in that article, so you're probably rarely going to use that. And then if you go over to the right here, we have where we're searching. So I always start off my searches searching anywhere. And I recommend doing that for the first time. But let's say that, healthcare reforms are a really important part of your research question, and you're only really getting articles that mention it like once in the 5th paragraph or something like that. You can select something like abstract or subject terms to make sure it's a little bit more present in the article. That means, it has to be mentioned in the abstract. It has to be one of the listed subject terms. You can even say it has to be in the title or something like that. But we're just going to start with this. Okay. So I have 15,000 results. That is too many. So we're probably going to want to add another keyword. But first, let's talk about your other assignment requirements. So first, you need to be looking for scholarly peer-reviewed information. So let's go ahead and click on scholarly journals on the left here. Okay, that took me down to 4,000. And remember, we have a date requirement. So I'm going to pull this up to the last 10 years. And just look at those. Okay, so now I'm down to 3,000. Probably want to add another keyword. Now let's say you don't really have an idea of what that keyword could be. That's when you want to start skimming these titles and looking at abstracts, seeing if there's anything that really catches your eye, okay? So I'm going to click on number 14 here. Okay, so looking at the title, some of my keywords are there, right? I might say health sector reform or health sector. Maybe change it to public health. Something good to look at. This is a ProQuest database. So if the full text is there, and we'll talk about getting full access in a minute, that's just going to be the first thing it pulls up. So you might want to just go over to the tab that says abstract and details before you dive in. So maybe take a look at this abstract to see if there are any keywords you can pull from there. And I love to look at these subject terms to find more keywords, right? So this gives you an idea of what the article is about in a really quick way, but it also clues you into the language that the database is using, and it's going to help you find the keywords that might be helpful. So we got public sector here again. I might think about adding that. Let's see, anything else that's interesting here? Healthcare expenditures, health insurance. This could all help me find more articles, right? So I go back up here. I'm going to go back to my results list. Okay, so I can add up here. If you go to the very top, click on advanced search. Okay, I'm going to add a row, and I'm just going to add insurance. Now be prepared for this to do nothing good for you, but you got to try a bunch of different keywords. Okay, so that actually got me 7,000 results. I'm still not in a very good place here. Oh, but it got rid of my date limiter. So let's do that one more time. Bring that up to 2010. Go to scholarly journals. Okay, so I'm down to 1,000. Still too many, right? I'm going to probably want to try a few more keyword options and think about that. So another thing to look at, going back to that example at the beginning. So let's say you're looking at healthcare reform in the United States of America, a pretty intense one. So if you're thinking of, Medicare for all, that hasn't happened yet. So you might want to look at other countries that have gone to that model, right? So you might want to look, scrolling through here, you might see something about Finland. This one's bringing up China, something like that. You can use that information to speak to our country and like what could happen if we got Medicare for all. So don't be afraid of these really specific articles about specific countries because they can still be useful to you. So let's click on another one and talk real quick about access. Okay. So this isn't really related to my topic, but it gets to the idea. So if the full PDF text is there, like I said before, it's just going to pull up right here, okay? If it's not there, there's going to be an option maybe on the right side that says find it at VU, click here for full text. You're going to want to click on that because that just means we don't own the article in this database, but we might own it somewhere else. So the motto is just keep clicking, and if you get to a place where you just can't find it, it says well, this isn't available. It might even have a link there that says request through Interlibrary Loan. And if it doesn't, I can show you the Interlibrary Loan link back on the guide. So keep that in mind. You can always get it. Interlibrary Loan usually takes like 1 to 2 days. They say prepare for a week, but I've never had it take much longer. So that's always an option. Okay. So if you look up at the top right, there's a few options here. You can download this straight to your computer. You can email the record to yourself. There's more options here. You can print it. There's options to save it to your Google Drive. Okay. Here's the cite button. You can use this to get a citation. You can copy and paste that. Just always make sure you're triple checking it with a citation guide, because they're often incorrect, but they do give you the information you need most of the time, so they can be useful. Okay, I'm going to go back to the guide here. So just keep in mind that, again, sometimes you're going to not be able to find that full text. I'm looking here for one. It looks like we have most of this full text here. I'm looking over here. But let me just quickly show you how you're going to get interlibrary loan if you can't find that full text, okay? So back on the guide here, on this last box, I have interlibrary loan linked here. You can just click on Iliad. Okay, so the first time you use it, it's going to ask you to put in your VU credentials. And my username just changed, so it's going to ask, good, okay, it's showing it. It's going to ask me to fill out this quick form here. And I only have to do this once. And once you do it, you can just fill out a quick form after that with like the title of the article, the journal, and the page numbers, and you should be good to go, okay? So thanks for sticking with me on that. If you have any questions, you can just scroll down and send me an email. I've met with a few students over Google Meet so far. It's been great. I'm really happy to help you with your research, especially when this is a confusing time for everyone. So happy researching, and let me know how I can help you if you have any questions.